The baseball world is about to explode, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are standing right at the epicenter with their wallets wide open and their trophy case ready for more hardware. What we're about to tell you is so massive, so potentially game-changing, that it could literally reshape the entire landscape of Major League Baseball for years to come. We're talking about Tarik Skubal, the two-time American League Cy Young Award winner, the absolute king of the mound, the pitcher who makes batters look like they're swinging pool noodles instead of Louisville Sluggers, and he might be heading to Dodger Stadium in the most jaw-dropping trade scenario of the decade. Yeah, you heard that right. The Detroit Tigers ace, the guy who's been absolutely untouchable on the mound, could be packing his bags and trading in the Motor City for the City of Angels. And according to ESPN insider Jesse Rogers, this isn't just wishful thinking or some random internet rumor cooked up by bored fans in their parents' basements. This is a legitimate possibility that's gaining serious traction in front offices across the league. The Dodgers aren't just kicking the tires on this one. They're revving the engine, checking the mirrors, and getting ready to floor it straight toward a three-peat championship run that would cement their dynasty status for generations. Let's break down exactly what's happening here, because this situation is more complicated than trying to explain the infield fly rule to your grandmother. Tarik Skubal isn't just some middle-of-the-rotation guy having a decent season. We're talking about a pitcher who has absolutely dominated baseball for the past 2 years like nobody's business. This man lowered his ERA from an already ridiculous 2.39 in 2024 to an even more absurd 2.21 in 2025. His whip, which for those who don't speak baseball nerd measures how many base runners a pitcher allows per inning, dropped from 0.92 to 0.89. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are video game numbers. Those are the kind of statistics that make opposing managers want to forfeit the game before their lineup even steps into the batter's box. But here's where things get absolutely wild. Despite being the best pitcher on planet Earth right now, Skubal and the Detroit Tigers are having what we'll politely call a contract disagreement, which is baseball speak for they're so far apart on money that they might as well be negotiating from different galaxies. Skubal believes he's worth north of $400 million, and honestly, when you look at what he's done, can you blame the guy? He's won back-to-back Cy Young Awards. He's striking out batters at a rate that would make Sandy Koufax jealous. And he's doing it all while still being in his prime years. Meanwhile, the Tigers are offering him extensions that are apparently so low that Skubal's agent probably laughed them out of the room before using the proposal as kindling for a bonfire. This is where the Los Angeles Dodgers come swooping in like a superhero in the ninth inning of a tie game. ESPN's Jesse Rogers just dropped a bombshell prediction that has Dodgers fans doing backflips in their living rooms and Tigers fans stress-eating Coney dogs by the dozen. Rogers believes the Dodgers will make a serious run at Skubal at the July 2026 trade deadline, and his reasoning is so logical it's almost scary. Here's the thing that makes the Dodgers the perfect landing spot for this potential blockbuster. While every other team in baseball would need to immediately lock Skubal down to a long-term mega deal to justify giving up the mountain of prospects it would take to acquire him, the Dodgers could actually afford to trade for him as a rental player. That's right, they could bring him in for just a few months, use him as their secret weapon for a third consecutive championship run, and still come out ahead, even if he walks away in free agency afterward. Think about that for a second. The Dodgers are so loaded, so ridiculously stacked with talent and resources that they can essentially rent the best pitcher in baseball like you'd rent a tuxedo for a wedding. They'd wear him for the important occasions, look absolutely incredible doing it, win the whole damn thing, and then worry about the details later. It's the kind of flex that only the Dodgers can pull off, and it's exactly why small market teams and their fans absolutely despise the Los Angeles juggernaut. But hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. The Dodgers are just playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, and they're about to call checkmate on the entire league. Now let's talk about why this trade makes even more sense when you dig into the economics of baseball's current situation. There's a pretty substantial elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, and that elephant is wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase full of collective bargaining agreement documents. The current player agreement expires after the 2026 season, which means 2027 could be an absolute disaster. We're talking potential work stoppages, delayed seasons, or in a worst-case scenario that would make baseball fans want to throw their televisions out the window. No baseball at all. Nobody thinks it'll get that bad, but the uncertainty is real, and it's affecting how teams approach big contracts right now. For the Tigers, this creates a nightmare scenario. They've got the best pitcher in baseball. He wants to get paid like the best pitcher in baseball. But teams across the league are hesitant to commit massive money when they don't know what the financial landscape will look like in 18 months. Will there be a salary cap? Will luxury tax penalties increase? Will the entire economic structure of baseball get turned upside down? These are legitimate questions that general managers are losing sleep over, and it's making it nearly impossible for the Tigers to find common ground with Skubal on an extension. The Tigers are essentially trying to sell a house during an earthquake, and buyers are understandably skittish about making offers when the ground won't stop shaking beneath their feet. This is where the Dodgers' unique position becomes even more advantageous. They don't need to worry about long-term implications or future collective bargaining agreements when they're making a rental deal. They can swoop in, offer the Tigers a package of prospects that would make Detroit's front office actually consider moving their franchise player, bring Skubal to Los Angeles for a championship run, and deal with the extension question later. And here's the kicker that makes this even more interesting. If the Dodgers fall in love with Skubal during those few months, if he slots perfectly into their rotation and helps deliver championship number 3, who's to say they won't back up the Brinks truck and give him that $400 million contract he's been dreaming about? The Dodgers aren't scared of big numbers. They hand out 9-figure contracts like candy on Halloween. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how far Tarik Skubal has come in his career, because his journey is actually pretty remarkable. Back in 2020, his rookie season, he posted an ERA over 5 and change. It was rough. It was the kind of performance that makes teams wonder if they missed on a prospect evaluation. But then something clicked. In 2021, he dropped it to 4.34. Still not great, but progress. 2022 saw another significant improvement to 3.52. Then 2023 is when things got real, with a 2.80 ERA that announced to the baseball world that a new ace had arrived, but nobody was prepared for what happened next. In 2024, Skubal absolutely exploded onto the scene with a 2.39 ERA and his first Cy Young award. Then, just when you thought he couldn't possibly get better, he somehow found another gear and posted a 2.21 ERA in 2025 while winning his second consecutive Cy Young. The strikeout numbers are equally bonkers. We're talking about a guy who punched out 241 batters this past season. That's not just good, that's elite. That's the kind of dominance that makes highlight reels and gives announcers reason to lose their minds on broadcasts. When Skubal is on the mound, batters aren't just getting out, they're getting embarrassed. They're walking back to the dugout wondering if they should take up golf instead, because hitting a baseball against this guy seems absolutely impossible. His stuff is so nasty that batters probably see it in their nightmares. We're talking about a 4-seam fastball that looks like it's shot out of a cannon, a slider that moves like it's got a GPS system tracking the outside corner, and a changeup that makes hitters look absolutely foolish as they swing at pitches in the dirt. But here's the million-dollar question, or more accurately, the $400 million question that Dodgers fans need to wrestle with. Is it actually worth it to trade away prospects for a rental player, even if that rental player is the best pitcher in baseball? This is where the debate gets spicy, where fans will argue until they're blue in the face, where talk radio hosts will dedicate entire segments to screaming their opinions at each other. On one hand, you've got the argument that championships are hard to win. And when you have a legitimate chance at a three-peat, something that almost never happens in modern baseball, you go all in. You mortgage the future for the glory of the present. You trade prospects who might be good someday for a guy who is absolutely elite right now. Prospects are lottery tickets, but Skubal is a guaranteed jackpot. On the other hand, there's the very real concern about giving up future assets for a player who might just be a rental. What if the Dodgers trade away the next superstar from their farm system? Skubal helps them win another championship, but then signs with the Yankees or Red Sox or whoever else in free agency? Then you're left with a trophy, which is obviously great, but you're also left without the prospects you gave up and without the star pitcher you traded for. It's a calculated risk, And the calculation gets even more complicated when you consider that the Dodgers rotation might be perfectly fine without Skubal. If Shohei Ohtani is healthy and pitching, if Yoshinobu Yamamoto continues developing, if Tyler Glasnow stays on the mound instead of the injured list, do the Dodgers really need to make this move? Here's where Jesse Rogers' analysis gets really interesting, though. He points out that the Dodgers are essentially the only team in baseball that can make this trade work without needing the extension component. Every other contending team would need assurances that Skubal would sign long-term before they'd be willing to part with the kind of prospect capital it would take to acquire him. The Phillies would need that guarantee. The Braves would need that guarantee. The Mets would need that guarantee. But the Dodgers, they can just roll the dice, take their chances, and be perfectly content with a rental situation if it means winning another World Series. That's an enormous competitive advantage that no other team possesses, and it's exactly why the Dodgers have become the Yankees of this generation, the team that everyone loves to hate, because they can do things nobody else can do. The timing element of this potential trade is also crucial. We're not talking about something that would happen tomorrow or next week. This is a July trade deadline scenario, which means we're going to have months of speculation, rumors, counter-rumors, insider reports, and enough drama to fuel a dozen soap operas. Between now and July, we'll get to see how the Tigers' season unfolds. If Detroit comes out strong and looks like a legitimate playoff contender, there's no way they trade Skubal. Absolutely zero chance. You don't trade your ace when you're competing for a division title, but if the Tigers stumble, if they fall out of the playoff race, if it becomes clear that last season was more of a fluke than the start of something special, then everything changes. Suddenly trading Skubal makes sense because you're getting something of value rather than watching him potentially walk away in free agency for just a compensatory draft pick. For Dodgers fans, this creates a fascinating situation where you're almost rooting for the Tigers to fail. Not because you have anything against, only permanent interests. And the Dodgers' interest is stacking championships like pancakes at an all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet. The prospect cost is another element that can't be ignored. To acquire Tarik Skubal, even as a rental, the Dodgers would need to put together a top 10. Players who have legitimate futures as major league contributors. The Tigers aren't going to accept. It's the kind of question that keeps general managers awake at night, staring at the ceiling, running scenarios through their heads like a computer simulation. What makes this even more intriguing is the Dodgers' track record with these kinds of moves. This isn't a franchise that's afraid to make the big swing, to take the calculated risk, to push their chips to the center of the table when they believe they can win. They've shown time and time again that they're willing to be aggressive in pursuit of championships, and that aggressiveness has paid off with multiple World Series titles in recent years. The front office has earned the trust of their fan base by making smart moves that prioritize winning now while still maintaining a strong farm system. It's a delicate balance, like juggling chainsaws while riding a unicycle, but somehow they make it work. The potential rotation that would include Skubal is enough to make opposing teams want to forfeit the season before it even starts. Imagine a playoff rotation that features Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, and Tarik Skubal. That's not just good. That's historically dominant. That's the kind of pitching staff that wins championships and makes highlight reels for decades to come. You'd have 4 legitimate aces, 4 guys who could start game 1 of a playoff series and give their team a legitimate chance to win. In a short series, that kind of pitching depth is absolutely lethal. You could theoretically use Skubal in game 1, bring him back on short rest for game 4, if needed, and still have 3 other elite options for the other games. That's a luxury that no other team in baseball could match. Of course, all of this speculation assumes that Skubal doesn't get traded before the deadline to another team, which is entirely possible. The Tigers could wake up tomorrow and decide they want to move him in the offseason rather than waiting until July. Another team could put together a package too good for Detroit to refuse. The entire landscape could shift in ways we can't predict. That's what makes baseball's hot stove season so addictive. It's like watching a chess match played by grandmasters, except the pieces are human beings worth hundreds of millions of dollars and the board is the entire country. Every move creates ripple effects. Every decision has consequences that won't be fully understood for years. For Tigers fans, this entire situation has to be absolutely maddening. You've got the best pitcher in baseball, a homegrown talent who worked his way through your system, who represents everything you want in a franchise player, and you might have to watch him get traded because the business side of baseball makes it impossible to keep him. It's the kind of thing that reminds us why sports can be so cruel, why being a fan of a small market team means constantly watching your best players leave for greener pastures and bigger paychecks. The Tigers aren't a poverty franchise by any means, but they're also not the Dodgers, and in today's baseball economy, that difference matters more than ever. The wild card in all of this remains the collective bargaining agreement situation. If baseball's owners and players can come together and hammer out a new deal that creates financial certainty, that could completely change the dynamics of Skubal's market. Teams might be more willing to commit long-term money if they know what the rules will be going forward. Conversely, if the negotiations get ugly and a work stoppage looks likely, teams might become even more conservative with their spending, which would benefit the Dodgers' rental approach even more. It's like trying to predict the weather 6 months in advance while also accounting for climate change and butterfly effects from halfway around the world. So what's the verdict? Should the Dodgers pull the trigger on this trade if the opportunity presents itself? The answer, like most things in baseball, is complicated. If the rotation is healthy and performing well, if prospects look too good to give up, if the price becomes too steep, then maybe you pass. But if injuries pile up, if the rotation needs reinforcement, if the opportunity to three-peat is sitting right there in front of you and all you need is one more elite arm to grab it, then you absolutely go for it. You make the trade. You deal with the consequences later. Championships don't come around every year. And when you have a chance to create a dynasty that people will talk about for generations, you take that chance every single time. This story is far from over. We've got months of speculation, analysis, rumors, and drama ahead of us before anything concrete happens. The baseball world will be watching Detroit's every move, analyzing their win-loss record like it's the stock market, trying to predict whether they'll be buyers or sellers come July. Meanwhile, the Dodgers will be sitting pretty, knowing they have the resources to make any move they want, whenever they want, however they want. It's good to be the king, and right now the Dodgers are absolutely royalty in Major League Baseball. So here's what we need from you. Hit that like button if you think the Dodgers should absolutely make this trade happen. Smash that subscribe button if you want to stay updated on every twist and turn of this developing story, because trust us, there will be plenty of twists and turns in the months ahead. Drop a comment below telling us whether you'd give up prospects for a Skubal rental or if you think the price is too high for a player who might only be in Los Angeles for a few months. We want to hear your takes, your hot opinions, your bold predictions. Would you trade the farm for a third championship, or would you rather build for sustained success over multiple years? There's no wrong answer here, just passionate baseball fans with different perspectives on how to build a winner. This is the kind of debate that makes baseball great, the kind of discussion that will be happening in bars and living rooms and office break rooms across the country for the next 6 months. The Dodgers and Tarik Skubal might just be the biggest story of the summer, and we're going to be here covering every single development as it happens.